All right. Here's a Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Barrett. Again, raise your hand if you want in on the conversation, including when Congressman Khanna joins us shortly. She ruled, as we talked about yesterday, I think, in a 5-4 decision, along with Chief Justice Roberts and the three Democratic affiliated justices, against President Trump. And MAGA has already started coming after her. And some people are speculating, legal people and folks in MAGA land and me, that if she chooses to continue to rule in 5-4 against the president, then MAGA is going to come after her even harder. So, Dan, if you were an advisor to Justice Barrett, and she said, I want to rule the way I want to rule, but I also don't want people outside my house and death threats and to be dragged constantly. Is there anything she can do? Is there any advice you'd give her about how to handle herself, give a speech, or just stay within the four corners of rulings?
Yeah, stay within the four corners, because the problem is she's not a politician. Now, justices are getting kind of closer and closer to this a little bit, but I think if she came out and tried to do a PR campaign, it would be problematic for a whole nother set of reasons. Look, Trump's very open about working the referees, as he likes to say. And, this is about, if you bully and you bully and you bully, that she will say, for my politics within the party, I need to find a way to throw a bone to the other side, even when I might not necessarily think it's the right legal reason. So, this is part of the MO. I mean, they're not going to stop doing this. I would hope that she would rule as she sees kind of legally fit or legally right. But the Trump people are not going to stop this. This is just how they operate.
Well, I think I had a panel discussion on my show last night with a bunch of people asking the same question. And I think that there's two camps. There's some that believe that she's going to be a thorn in his side, and some people have already determined that. And some look at the decision and say, okay, the money was obligated. There is an argument to be made that, hey, you have the right to do it in the future, but not on the funds that have already been appropriated by Congress. And so there's sort of the jury's out view, and I think that's kind of where the two camps come down on there. Is this a one-off ruling because of the nuance of it, or is this a pattern that's about to begin?
Well, but what is a pattern, though, is with other justices, there's talk on the right of impeaching them. Like it is, if you don't do what we said, like basically judges are politicians, you're on our team, thus you have to constantly rule in favor of us against Democrats. And if you don't, we are going to target you with every tactic that we use for politicians, because I don't think they respect the independence of the judiciary in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm asking. I'm asking
just going after them.
I'm asking a slightly different question. Maybe if she were my friend, I'd call her up today and I'd say, you need a plan, because if you just go about your business ruling 5-4 against the president, things are gonna really escalate. And it's going to be uncomfortable for you. So you need a plan.
Look, but
and we're not in an age. Supreme Court justices give speeches all the time now.
Of course.
And you say the rules are you're just supposed to stay within the four corners. And the fact is, the rules for the people harassing them have changed. In the old days, Mark, you wouldn't be harassed this way. So she needs a plan.
But the speeches are usually given outside of the Supreme Court session, when they're in session from October through like June. And I think that the issue is the tactics work for people who are coming up for primaries. Like, I agree you'd want to kind of have an image plan, but I think it would be unprecedented in the middle of a Supreme Court term to get out there, because it
would be unprecedented. But I'll say again, if she were my friend, I would say to her, you need an unprecedented plan. If you think it's possible, you're about to continually rule 5-4 against the president.
And my advice to her as a strategist would be, you make those announcements in your dissent, which is like in this thing, I would say, going forward, the president, the executive has the right to do this. However, because you need to explain yourself more, because I think of a Supreme Court justice going out, if you're her, or for that matter, any of them, and you start going out and doing political stuff, you are basically telling a justice that you are about to reshape the role of a justice going forward.
I totally, I mean, Mark,
I'd be very careful about doing that, because once you do it, you have fundamentally changed the role of an associate justice of the Supreme Court going forward.
I agree with that. I agree with you guys, but I think she needs to. Congressman Khanna, welcome and good morning. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
We want to talk about your two tweets, but I want to ask you to just weigh in on what we were just talking about. If Justice Amy Coney Barrett was your friend and she said, Congressman, I'm worried that if I rule against the president on a consistent basis, my family will be targeted, I'll be constantly harassed and attacked, what would you tell her to do, given the strictures of how justices normally behave?
Wow. Well, Sherminsky had a great op-ed in the New York Times this morning saying that the true constitutional crisis will be if this president defies the Supreme Court. And I would just say that, this is the time for bravery and courage. And I think that the president's numbers would tank if he actually did that. Public sentiment is everything. And, that would be a line, in my view, that would be way too far. But, obviously, it comes at great risk to the court. And the one thing we have to remember is that the court is not immune from public opinion, public pressure. I actually think the lower Trump's numbers are, the more likely the court may find some courage.
All right, we'll see. I do worry about her.